I suppose it still makes sense, does it? Just keep calm, just calm down. All right, bullets aren't going to kill you. Well, they are, or the bomb might, but just calm down. All right, yeah. Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land, and welcome to season 2 of A Very Special Relationship, the show that shows the similarities between the two powerhouses of world politics. All right, 1.5. Captain of the USS Anyone But Trump, it is Admiral Andrew Bridges Smith, and hoping to make it out of port at the helm of HMS. Come on, it's been 14 years. Give us a general election already. It is I, Midshipman Matt Johnston. Happy New Year, Andrea.
And a very happy new year to you too, Matt.
But just to say, by the way, I have no idea why I put in all those nautical references. This is a show about US and UK politics. It isn't about the Navy. I just want to clear all that up.
Sure.
Although, the way that the weather has been over here in the UK the last week, you do wonder how long those of us over here have left on dry land.
Yeah, I've heard that you've been having some really terrible weather. We have only had our annual close the schools because it got cold day, but I think that you guys actually have it a lot worse.
Yeah, Storm Isha is, that's spelled with an I, by the way, it's doing a fair amount of damage across the UK. And this has led to, unfortunately, 4 deaths, and thousands of people were without power. Now, we've been getting rain and wind, and I know what people over there are saying. They're saying, come on, it's the UK. Of course it's going to be wet and windy, but not like this. The winds have been blowing in some places up to 107 miles per hour. In fact, I think was recorded in some spot. Yeah. And something like 100 millimeters of rain fell within 24 hours. So now we are just now experiencing a bit of a lull as God tricks us into a false sense of security before battering us at the end of the week with Storm Jocelyn, which will be J. Obviously, the next storm after that will be K, and it runs through the alphabet like that.
Sure. Those are some really strong winds for you guys. I wish that they were winds of change instead of just the normal variety, but hopefully those are coming soon.
Yeah, oh, nice segue there. So
Thank you.
talking of all things wet and blustery, I understand you have some news about perennial loser Ron DeSantis, Andrea.
Oh, yes. We have lots of campaign news for you. So Ron DeSantis is indeed out of the race, back down in Florida with his tail between his legs. And he has endorsed a man that called him rude nicknames for literally months. Just chock full of dignity right now. DeSantis is blaming, quote, checked out voters for his loss because it's definitely not his fault for being a bad candidate who ran an even worse campaign.
Of course not.
Of course not. We cannot say that. Now, with him gone, that leaves a 2-person race for the Republican nomination between Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. And last night was the New Hampshire primary, which was Nikki Haley's best hope to bounce Trump, but she lost by 11%, which is pretty bad. She is vowing to stay in and keep fighting, however, but unless Donald Trump magically goes to jail in the next 3 weeks, she's probably toast. So seems like we're looking at another Trump-Biden rematch that literally no one wants. But I will point out something interesting that maybe will make everyone feel a little bit better. And this comes from Politico, which I love. So they did exit polls in New Hampshire, and they showed that 10% of Democratic primary voters say that they will not vote for Biden, which, ouch, that's pretty bad. But 33% of Republican primary voters said that they will not vote for Trump. That's way more.
1 in 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, way more people will hate Trump than Biden, which is a good bet because he's pretty hateable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this thing on the fact that it's Scaramucci, yes, which does sound like one of the lines from Bohemian Rhapsody, doesn't it? Will you do the fandango?
And his tenure, ironically, lasted a lot less time than the amount that song takes up. So he gets in and out, Scaramucci.
Anyway, he was on Times Radio. I saw an interview with him. He said pretty well Biden is definitely going to win because essentially Trump has his fan base. But he hasn't really added to his fan base. If anything, less people are going to vote for him, especially, I suppose, after you consider the January 6th insurrections and stuff. I don't know how much truth there is to that. Obviously, nobody does the elections, but is that what you're sensing?
I am cautiously optimistic at this point. I don't want to get my hopes up too high because they have been smashed into bits before. But, I find myself sort of agreeing with Anthony Scaramucci, which is a very weird place to be. There are these hardcore Trump people that are wearing the sequins and the hats and, the American flags just literally everywhere. And the hats, there's just a whole world of hats alone with these guys. But the problem with being very polarizing is that people either love you or they hate you. And after so many years of Trump being, a candidate and in office and a candidate again, people have pretty much made up their mind about him. And the majority of people don't like him. Now, we'll have to see how many people are willing to hold their nose and vote for him even though they don't like him. But I think it's a lot easier to hold your nose for Joe Biden because, there are people who really dislike him. But, I think honestly what they dislike is Hunter Biden more than Joe Biden, honestly.
Right.
Which is why they spend so much time talking about him. But I don't know. We'll see. I hope Scaramucci is right, which again is a wild thing to say out loud.
Okay,
So,
I hope you are as well.
Yeah. What about you guys, Matt? What's been going on in the very exciting world of British politics these days?
Oh, very exciting, yes. Well, this is all rather interesting, right? Because it would be basically, are you familiar with the Rwanda scheme,
Yes.
as it's otherwise known, the batshit crazy Rwanda scheme?
Yes.
Now, those aren't my words. Those are the words of the Foreign Secretary and the chap who actually asked to implement said scheme, a chap called James Cleverly, or James Oxymoron Cleverly. Anyway, the scheme itself was passed through the House of Commons. So in the end, all this tough talk from the Conservative backbenchers about the fact they were going to vote against it because it wasn't tough enough. And, it allowed illegal migrants, blah, 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 to do all this and they could do this. And they said, oh, we're going to vote against it. In the end, 11 voted against it, including our old friend, or not, Suella Braverman, who has now gone to the House of Lords where it was rejected. It's nice to see some people in politics still have some understanding of morals and the law. So this will no doubt lead to Rishi Sunak saying they're denying the will of the people, while at the same time, not giving us a general election.
Well, the will of the people should only be listened to if they agree with you. Everyone knows that.
Right, yeah.
So I'm curious, Matt, talking about that general election, do you think that you will still get one this year, or do you think it's going to be pushed back to 2025?
Pretty well certain to be this year. So
Okay.
it is rather interesting. It could be early this year, but all the signs seem to point to later on in 2024. I mean, technically, he could have it in January 2025. In fact, I think he's got up to about the 25th of January to do it. But that's unlikely to the point of not really going to happen. And for a fairly gruesome reason. The Tories rely pretty heavily on older voters, and you don't want to rely on them surviving winter. See, I told you this, right? The unofficial date for finally seeing the back of the Tories that's being bandied around is November the 14th. But I say unofficial, not even Sunak has made his mind up yet. But I think that this weekly catch-up that we have is a good opportunity to keep talking about where we are in our respective elections and what to look out for. But each passing day is looking more and more like damage limitation for Rishi and the Conservative Party.
Yeah, what's interesting is if you guys have yours on November the 14th, ours would be the week before that. So we're going to have plenty to talk about. And
Crazy
we're going
times,
to
yes.
need some booze, Matt. We got to get
Yes.
some booze on deck because it's going to be a stressful run up. Maybe less stressful for you because it sounds like the outlook is a little looking a little bit better on your side of the Atlantic. That you'll finally get these Tories out of there.
I'm like you though. I've been let down too many times by the
Right.
British voter. So I'm kind of like I'm taking each day and what's it? Expect the best, prepare for the worst, as they
Sure,
say.
sure, exactly. I have a shirt on today that says "Now panic and freak out," which
Oh
seemed
wow,
appropriate
yes,
for these times and this show.
very much from the British. Keep calm and carry on, and all the stuff that was thrown up from there. Um,
Exactly, exactly.
so keep calm and carry on. Did you know was actually from the Second World War poster, a motivational poster.
Yeah, although I think it's hard to stay motivated when there's shells falling around you.
Yeah, I suppose it still makes sense, does it? Just keep calm, just calm down. All right, bullets aren't going to kill you. Well, they are, or the bomb might, but just calm down. All right, yeah.
It's very applicable today, just calm down. We're just going to ship these people to Rwanda and just calm down about it. Which, side note, Matt, I was listening to a podcast and I heard that Rwanda is actually trying to give you guys the money back and say, you know what, let's just stop.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
not
yeah.
looking good for us either, and we're Rwanda. So,
Like TikTok, if you're not going to send anybody, honestly, what was the point in you? They've sent more. They've sent three home secretaries there. That's the only people that they sent to Rwanda. That's it. Three people, all home secretaries, to have photo opportunities. Crazy.
well, I think it's clear that the Rwanda Tourism Board has some work to do. So, so, Matt, let me ask you a question that will probably make you wildly uncomfortable as a British person. How are you feeling, like, about the world in general?
Oh, okay. Right. Well, honestly, I guess presenting a show like ours, can be a bit stressful, right? I'm just staring into the abyss, into the blackness, into the dark. Oh, there I go again. Yes. Sorry. Why do you ask, Andrea?
The reason I ask is because, fellow abyss starer over here, I'm certainly with you on that. But the reason I ask is because the Phoenix News Network is launching a new campaign called the Emotional Support News Network. And the idea is that in the US, but also in the UK too, this year is going to be stressful,
Mm.
in the run up to these elections, wondering what's going to happen. We've got a couple of wars going on. We've got climate change causing these crazy storms like the ones that you've been having. There's just all sorts of things that if you pay attention to the world around you at all, could potentially freak you out.
Mm.
So we are going to be providing our viewers with some distractions and some coping mechanisms and just some extra fun and joy in these tough times. So we're going to be giving some comfort food recipes, some comedy meditations, group therapy, cocktail recipes, baby ducks, and whatever else we can think of to keep people's heads from just absolutely exploding. So, be on the lookout for those. We're going to help you get through it, Matt.
Oh, alcohol. Well, yes, actually, I have to say that could probably help a lot of this make sense, right? Also, the baby duck recipes would be very welcome. I mean, I've understood that correctly, right?
Sure, yes. We're going to cook a baby duck on camera, and that'll calm everybody right down. Keep calm and cook a duck, right?
That could definitely take off. That's a catchphrase. I'm swiping that catchphrase.
Okay.
Keep calm and cook a duck.
All right, we're going to have to put that up in the merch shop, I guess. All right, everyone. Well, that is all that we've got time for today, but don't worry, we will be back next week with another episode, and we expect to be doing these regularly now that we've gotten through the holidays. I want to thank you, Matt, for being here, as well as all of our listeners and viewers. It is very good to be back, and we will see you again soon.
All right. Bye bye.